Hey guys, this is JBot again. I am bringing you an interesting mission that we mentioned on our podcast here recently. We kind of just lovingly called this Beggar's Canyon. What we did is we took a 6x4 table typically used for the Warhammer 40K and other similar sized games, and we set it up for a 4-way X-Wing game that we kind of made up on the fly. This is the first turn. We're flying through really quick. Nobody's really in range. The general idea here is there are 4 packages, container tokens. You can see they're right around the central spire. And the goal for each of us, we are all on our own team, is to get in, pick up a package, and then get off through one of the other players' deployment zones. And we used a range 3 kind of cone arc there in the corner to represent our deployment zones. All you have to do is run a template over it or land on the token to pick it up, and then it is on that ship. If that ship is destroyed, it drops the token. Now, if you get a token off the board, off the map, you get 100 points. For every ship you lose points. You are basically going to end up negative if you don't get a token off the board. You can get 100 if you get a token and all of your ships survive, or what you really need to do to make sure is just to get 2 tokens. We split this up into 4 teams. There in the upper left hand corner is a Rebellion team. He's running with 3 A-Wings and an ARC 170. Up in the right hand corner here we actually have the Imperial team. I believe he has 2 Special Forces TIE and a bomber. In the bottom right hand corner is Jim. He has a scum list minus anything that's Mandalorian, and I am here in the left hand corner playing a Mandalorian scum list. So I actually have 3 of their protectorates, just because I actually really like the protectorate starfighters. So I ran with 3 of those instead of putting a fire spray in there, but the fire spray was an option that I could take that Jim couldn't. The first thing that kind of happens here, this is I guess we're working now on the 3rd turn. Sorry for the video there early on. We had a few snafus with the camera, but here it's cleaned up so you can see it pretty good. The A-Wings are really, really fast, and they tear off, and they actually get to their package first. The rest of us are a little out of range. The Imperial player was taking his time, and Jim is trying to get there to his, but he actually placed his package a little bit further out, or I should say closer to the central spire than everybody else. And he's also got a little bit more terrain to kind of wiggle around with 5 ships. This move for mine is going to look a little weird, but what I did on my lowest pilot skill guy, there's a pilot skill 3 protector that actually has an EPT. So what I did is I just decided not to take all the crazy stuff, and I actually put a experimental interface on him, and for his pilot skill I put I think it's Daredevil, the one that gives you the option as an action to take that 1 hard bank, or the 1 hard turn. And you can see here, in order to do that, I had to double stress myself because of both cards end up giving you a stress, but it was worth it to really jump ahead and get turned away from the fight. So my goal was actually to sweep in, pick up the package, and then let the other 2, the higher pilot skill guys, kind of play defense for this low pilot skill guy and get him off the board. I wasn't sure where I was going yet until I saw what the A-Wings did. As soon as he starts making his move further across, and you can see he's moving as fast as he can to pick up that 2nd package, because he knows if he gets 2 off the board, he pretty much wins. So he's pushing really hard for that. And as soon as I saw that, it basically told me I'm going to try and get a package off his deployment zone because he's not going to have any defense there. Jim's too kind of stuck in on his side to actually try and run through, so that was a decision by me. You're going to see in a couple turns here that the A-Wings make a cardinal sin. I'm not sure if it's going to fit into this video, but you'll see what happens to him. Speed does kill in this instance, but he's pushing really hard. The trick with flying in formations is if you set them up right, they can turn and kind of wiggle around and not really get in each other's way, but you have to, in order to maintain that formation, you have to make consistent turns. As soon as somebody kind of goes out of that design turns of the game, you're going to start bunching up, and this is kind of what happens to him. He starts to be unable to boost himself around and really get into the positions he wants. Haven't seen any combat yet. It's going to happen here in another turn or so. But right now, everybody's maneuvering, trying to get their ships into a good position to attack. Really, right now the A-Wings are the biggest threat because they are one turn away from getting a second package and getting off the map. You can see the Rebel player's Arc 170 is actually so slow. He's a pilot skill 7, I believe, but he's so slow that he takes a long time to get across the field versus all the fast ships that Jim has there with his Seek, the A-Wings, and obviously the Protectorates. So in a way, it's not good because his list got split up, but in a second way, it actually is because it stays out of the fight for a while and can come in later if it needs to. He actually causes me a lot of trouble because, well, my dice fail me pretty hard in this game. But it was interesting. The great thing about this is everybody's on their own, and because of the rules that we just kind of spitballed together before we picked this up, there wasn't a lot of kind of reason to side with anybody. A lot of times what happens in multiplayer free-for-all games is as soon as somebody gets hurt, everybody pounces on the weak individual to get him off the map. Either that or a couple players kind of collude together, decide not to shoot each other, and they wipe everybody else out and then decide to have a death match on their own. And that's cool. It's fun, but at the same time it can be a little bit annoying, especially in a 3-person game. If 2 people decide they're not going to shoot each other, it really becomes ganging up at that point. I know it's all casual, but I'm going to make the suggestion that if you're in a 3-person game, do not agree with your opponent to not shoot him, and just 2 of you pick on the 3rd person, because that makes it a whole lot of unfun. It makes it very unfun for that last person to essentially be facing 2 lists. One of the weird rules that we actually put into this is that all of the scenery that you see, except for the blast craters, which are out on the edge and really never come into play, we didn't consider them obstacles, we considered them walls. So they blocked line of sight. You could target through them, but they would block line of sight, and you could actually not run a template over it. So if your template even touched it, you stopped where your template was. You would basically bump at that exact point, and you'd roll a damage die to see if you took it, and then at the end phase, after everybody's cleaning their tokens up, you would adjust the facing of your ship so that on the next turn, if you went straight, you would not hit that rock again. This actually caused some crazy problems. It was kind of a last-minute rule by Jim. He actually wanted all these walls and things to just do a straight damage. If they had, wow, there would have been a lot of carnage in this game. Nobody's really touched one yet, but it's going to start happening when the ships get really close to each other. You're going to start seeing people all over the rocks just because you start to run out of places to move. But it was a very interesting rule. And it also, we had people come by and look at this table and say, wow, that's got to be crazy to fly around. And it is, and that's what makes this fun. That was what we were going for. Jim saw all this scenery and decided we wanted a table that was crowded like this. And here we're seeing what the A-Wings did wrong. He did a straight 5 with that front one, and now he is just the other side of that wall. And because of that rule I was just mentioning, he can't get around it. He can't put a template that goes over. He can't even put a sharp anything because it will make him bump against that wall on his next turn. He obviously can't boost because you can't boost anyway if you can't make the full boost. And because of that decision, he actually jams up his entire run of A-Wings. They all are just close enough to each other now that he can't boost around himself. And really, this kind of spells doom for him. He does try to get the boost around here. We see Jim bump it a little bit there, so who knows if it was actually room or not. I probably need to put a counter on these videos for the number of times Jim bumps, but not sure we have enough screen space for all of them in some of these games. In fact, I might highlight one in the next video if I can figure out how to do it. There was a pretty funny one that no one caught, but I did once I started editing it. But what our Rebel player here has done is, and he admitted it as soon as he did, he's like, oh, I should have gone 4. And if that front A-Wing had gone 4, he would have been able to boost to the right, clear that wall, and more than likely have smooth sailing from then on, because if you look at Jim's list, everything's pointing towards me. And the Imperial list is going to the outside of that little building corner there. So if he had done a straight 4, he would have been far enough back to boost around the corner, and he would have had at least that front A-Wing, which is the one that has the package, in clear sailing to get off the board. And now he's really got himself stuck because the back A-wing that has a package doesn't have anywhere that it can go either. It can't boost to the left because of the rock, or because of that building, and it can't boost to the right because there's another A-wing in the way. And that A-wing's only in the way because the one in front of it wasn't able to clear the building. So that straight 5 of that front A-wing really killed him in this. Of course, everybody starts reacting to this, at least on that side of the table. It's, I believe at this point that Jason, the Imperial player, and Jim came together and said, okay, we got to kill these A-wings because they will get around it. It'll take him a couple turns, but he will get around that wall. So they have to focus on those A-wings as much as they can to make sure that they don't get out. Because let's say they shoot and they kill that front A-wing. He'll drop his package, and that back one, if it moves over, it will immediately pick it right back up. So he actually had a really good idea by creating this sort of train of ships. Because if the front one that picks it up gets destroyed, the one that's right after it's going to pick it up as well. And we have no rule in place to keep you from one ship from carrying 2 packages. So we continue to see here the moves. We're going to actually see some serious combat here on the next combat phase. I have actually turned my pilot skill 5 protectorate into Jim's kind of advancing horde to give him something to shoot at instead of my other guy. And I target locked his Karaz fighter with him. I actually have an ion torpedo loaded in the hopes of slowing down as much of that list as possible. You can see the arc turns into my pilot skill 7 protectorate, and in most cases that's the perfect place to be. I'm in range 1, I'm in his arc, I'm running the title. He takes a target lock because if he doesn't, I strip his tokens off. I don't recall the name of that pilot right off the top of my head, but it's the one that if you're in range 1 and in arcs and such, you can take their focus and evades away from them. So he took a target lock, which is smart. He actually, we fire simultaneously. Naturally, he hits me because my dice are crap. And I think he took 2 of my 4 whole in that one shot. I fired back and did 2 damage, and I think he had 1 die and avoided one of those. So I did 1 whole damage in that face up with my super offensive ability with that character. It was very disappointing. I was able to make contact with the ion torpedo here. This is what's going on down here in the corner. It only did, I believe, 1 point of damage to the Karaz, but that was all that was necessary to ionize both of those ships and give me a good idea where he's going. Now here's an interesting point. Jim uses a tractor beam from that Mist Hunter there. Because of the rule that we had made for these, he could not actually move me with it. He couldn't barrel roll me either way, but he could still take away my agility on that ship. So even though I was able to avoid the damage on that first one, the other 2 ships that are there facing me were able to do good damage to me. Actually, I think only the Headhunter there is facing me, but it was able to do 2 damage to me as well. So I took a bit of a beating from those ships, even though I have 3 agility and evasive skills and such on that ship. Here Jim is now firing his Headhunter at that A-wing there that's in front. He's trying to kill it to make it drop the package. I believe he's shooting at that front one because he needed to get rid of it as much as possible. The goal obviously is to kill all of them, but he needs to kill that one with the package first, because really that second one is going to have a difficult time getting out of the way of that wall as well, especially as long as that front one is there. Jason is finally starting to turn the corner with his Imperials, and he should start getting shots, I believe, on the next turn. Jim drifts forward, just a standard little drift to get to keep that A-wing in focus, because he knows he's going to get a clean shot on him this next turn. And he continues to bank away from me. He's picked up his package, and I don't know that I had any idea what his plans were, if he was going to try and make a run towards the same deployment zone as me or not. At this point I didn't know, so I had to kind of keep that in mind. The problem I ran into with my guy, who's going to be moving here in just a second, is that I didn't have a move that would put me in a good position to fight back. My guy, my package carrier is just going to move straight, barrel roll around that rock, so he's fine. But my pilot skill 5 there the one that ionized it here at the bottom, did not have a really good maneuver. I wanted to use the fancy new turn whose name I cannot recall, but it's the red one that the new X-Wings have. I wanted to use that, but it's only range 2, which would not have cleared, at least to my eye, would not have cleared his Kirax, however they like to say that, fighter, and put me in a good position. I actually was afraid I was going to bump with that. And if I had gone to the other side, I didn't think I would have a shot on anybody. I mean, I'm pretty sure there was plenty of room there to the other side, but I don't think I would have had a shot on anybody, so it felt like a kind of a wasted move. We see the other A-Wing pick up the last package there on the table, so our Rebel player now has 2, but he's taking a beating. He's now right in the gun sights of 2 players, and what our Imperial fellow here in the bomber is going to do is barrel roll in and drop a cluster mine, which is amazing because he was actually able to get in and drop 2 of those bombs. 2 of the templates fell over that front A-Wing. Unfortunately, Jason has about as much luck with cluster mines as I do, cluster bombs, however they like to call them, as I do. I think he did 1 point of damage. So he got 2 templates on him, and he did 1 point of damage, despite the fact that the A-Wing can't roll to avoid it. So on 2 rolls of 2 dice each, he still didn't do but 1 damage. And so that was disappointing, but really par for the course for the cluster bombs as far as Jason and I have had any luck with them. And here I was describing what I was doing. I didn't feel like I had any move here, so I actually tried to just fly past them, which was not difficult at all, and ran into a bit of kind of decision paralysis here of what to do next. I mean, barrel roll, do I boost, that sort of thing. So I was kind of stuck in a really, really bad spot there of how to move with my ship. I ended up just kind of boosting forward with the hope that next turn I'd be able to kind of swing back around. We can see everybody's lined up pretty badly here. Jim is a little bit out of range. He's kind of turned the wrong direction, doesn't have really good shots with 3 of his ships. His Mist Hunter has a fairly okay shot. He might have had that A-Wing in range, I can't recall. But his Mist Hunter's got a shot, but his Headhunter doesn't. Obviously his Kiraz doesn't. One of my ships, my package carrier, won't have a shot. I know we haven't moved those ships yet. I guess he did have a range on that A-Wing. But I ended up moving mine. The goal here was to swing him back around, not really knowing what Jim's plan was. I felt like I needed to come back around and play a little defense. But the Rebel player had it out for my guys. I mean, yes, it's smart for him to turn back around and continue to shoot at my package carrier here. But he got a little bit stuck in with me and spent a long time kind of coming after me, where he might have been better off actually going after Jim a little bit here. They were spending a lot of time focusing on their A-Wings and kind of leaving them open, but that was his decision, and can't fault him for that. I had taken a package. I was the closest one. It felt like an easy victory for him, I guess. So he decided to hunt me down. Jason's now moving his high-level Special Forces ties, which get nice, clean shots, or at least the first one does on that A-Wing there. The second one ends up bumping, but he still gets shots, and that's the key. I believe he gets shots on 2 A-Wings, and that's a large amount of damage that he can dish out because he's at pretty close range with most of that stuff. Now we'll see him start to roll. You can't really see, he rolled a little bit off the table there. We had still fighting our camera setup, and I do believe he did at least 1 point of damage to the A-Wings. The A-Wings are rolling well, but they are not going to be able to survive the fire for much longer. It's unfortunate, but it is how it works. He got a large chunk of his list stuck in front of us, or stuck in front of Jim and Jason, and he's getting hammered from both sides. He's really going to have a bad time of it. So here we see him continue to focus on my guys. At this point, I've got 2 ships that have 2 hull, and he's going to actually put another 2 damage on my remaining ship. So my guys are looking really, really bad at this point. They can't roll to evade for anything. I'm getting beat up pretty bad. It's the nature of the beast with me. My evade dice tend to be pretty bad. Here they are close range in there. Jim is now starting to lay into those A-Wings, and we'll see the result. It's not pretty for our Rebel player on this go around. He's lining up, seeing if he has shots on other stuff. Jason and him still have a bit of an accord, so he's not really firing. He's trying to get a shot on the A-wing. He was able to see, as long as he had a clean line of sight past that pillar to the A-wing, from, I guess, base to base. As long as a base to base with a straight line could do it, he would get a shot. So here we see him finally killing off that back A-wing. He had decided to go after it first and then leave the second one there, just so there'd be nobody to pick up the package if it happened to drop. But ultimately it's not going to matter, because he's gonna tear up that second X-wing as well. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I know I've talked really fast, and I will come back hopefully tomorrow or the next day or so with the second half of this game. We're moving pretty fast now. The combat gets a lot more intense, because you're going to start seeing ships get destroyed or leave the table with packages, and it actually comes down to the wire. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I really hope that you stick through the last one, because the ending, at least in my opinion, and in everybody who played, was well worth it. At this point, it looked very kind of haphazard. No one really knew who was going to win. It was up in the air. But there's a very distinct winner at the end of this, and I think everybody who played it had a good time. So I hope you come back for the second half, and we will see you then.